God bless you today. This is Pentecost Sunday. Bishop Wendell Brereton, just bringing you a brief word in the day of Pentecost. Today is the day of Pentecost in May of 2020. Incredible things are happening. As we know, many of us have been watching the protests going on all over the world. In fact, all over North America, rather, in respect to the killing by police, the murder of Derek Chauvin of George Floyd, and we've seen the world being turned upside down because of what is going on in America. I had to say something on the day of Pentecost regarding this situation, and just going to adjust myself here and sit down and allow this conversation to take place. Listen, many people have come to me and asked me, they said, Bishop, listen, what is your position? What is your mindset of what is happening? Are you in support of this protest, this revolution? Bishop, there's been looting, there's been fires, businesses have been burned down, people are burning down their own houses, their own properties, their neighborhoods are being burnt down. When is enough enough? Haven't we gotten the message yet? People spoke out fine, but now it's time for cooler heads to prevail, for us to settle down and stop this. Bishop, what do you have to say? And my position specifically is this: that a revolution doesn't happen overnight. That what is taking place, that we are seeing, is essentially a few eggs being broken to make an omelet. And I know it's hurtful to us to think that we can advocate for the burning down of police stations and the rioting of our citizens. It's incredulous for an individual to get up here and to say, the military, is coming in, and the National Guard and the police are stopping people from committing criminal acts, and you're here supporting those things. Listen to me. When the American government went and bombed Oklahoma and destroyed Black Wall Street from above, were not businesses burnt? Were not homes destroyed? When America itself went out in the Boston Tea Party because of their mindset towards independence and wanting to free themselves of taxation and tyranny, did we say to ourselves, property is being burnt? How can property equate to the loss of blood, of one drop of human blood? How can property equate to the extinguishing of lives? How can property equate to a system of indentured servitude, of chattel slavery, a system of injustice, a system of social disparity and marginalization and hegemony and absolute systematic racism? How can a few eggs that are being broken in some communities compare to 400 years of genocide? How can we compare those two things? Because there comes a time when the manifesto must be spoken. In the day of Pentecost, a manifesto was spoken in the upper room that empowered those saints up in that upper room to go into the world and to turn a world upside down. The manifesto gave everyone a voice, but there must be a leader. There had to be a Peter that was able to articulate the book of Joel and draw it into common day comparison, and to show us how history was bringing us to this moment, to this very moment, where we were called by God to speak and to do things to cause change. Change is never easy. Change sometimes causes much pain. It sometimes causes tears. It sometimes causes the loss of life and property and access and the loss of liberty. Pain put Christ on the cross, where he called out, Abba, Abba, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Pain is what we suffer when we go through the agonies of the call. And Pentecost is where the call begins. It is very, I think, appropriate that all of this fell on the timing of Pentecost. We must look to ourselves and realize that we must rebuild a social infrastructure that has been set up to disenfranchise Black people. We must rebuild police departments that have been set up where individuals were hired to marginalize races outside of their ethnic scope. We must begin to rebuild nations that have been built on the back of slavery, and new nations must come of it. Even right here in America, there's really two nations. There's always been two nations. There's been a nation built under the tyranny of slavery and a nation recovering from it. And it's about time now that America has a new dialogue, a new conversation, that black men, black women in America must be able to self-determine, must be able to say, we shall govern ourselves, we will police ourselves, we will teach ourselves, we will empower ourselves. It must be a time where the constitutional document of the Republic of the United States of America must be discarded by the black people whom that Constitution has never given liberty to, and say we must write our own. There must be a time where the American black man must stand up and says, I am no longer an American Negro. I am no longer an emancipated slave, but revolution has come, and I am taking mine. I am looking to my brothers in Haiti who've taken theirs. I'm looking to my brothers in Trinidad and Tobago who have taken theirs. I'm looking even to my brothers in Africa who have stood in solidarity and run their own nations. Yes, it might not be the nation that we wanted it to be. Yes, it might be different. Yes, it might be a scenario where you look and say, well, is this really America? Isn't Palestine and Israel trying to do the same thing? Hasn't the Palestinians said that I will coexist with you, that I will self-govern, that I will self-determine in the same land that Israel says? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a thing that we haven't seen before, but it is time for the black man and the black woman in America to say that it is time for us to self-govern. It is time for us to secede from this union. It is time for us to be our own man, to be our own people. It's time for us to turn away from the penitentiary that kept us captive for so many years, that we are calling home, and we must create a new infrastructure. We must burn it down. We must tear it down, because we're not tearing down homes. We're not tearing down neighborhoods. We're tearing down ideologies. We're tearing down systematic racism. We're tearing down institutions of oppression. We're tearing down a narrative that never included us. So today I'm saying to you, in the day of Pentecost, that Pentecost must come with activism, that even in Azusa Street, the activism of black and white people under the power of the Holy Ghost, building churches together, that activism must be the activism of a new frontier, of a new conversation, and I'm waiting to have it with you. My name is Bishop Wendell Brereton, and the revolution cannot be stopped.